Trump has been in office for about a month now, and he's made some big changes to Social Security. So we're going to go over this article right here, Trump's 4 Social Security changes that you should know as of now. So I'll go over those 4 changes that he actually has done since being in office for the past month. Also, going to go over this article. It's a really good one. Presidents and Social Security, how presidents have impacted America's first social insurance policy. So we're going to start out with Franklin D. Roosevelt. We're going to go through Eisenhower. It's going to go all the way up to Obama, Biden, Trump. So I'm going to share all those things that each president has done to give you a little bit more perspective of what presidents actually have done for your Social Security to lead you to where you are to this point right now. And I'm going to give you some other important updates as well. Before I dive into the main content, if you appreciate these Social Security updates, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Social Security updates. Also, before we get into it, just want to give a shout out to my wife, Christine. Today is our 9-year anniversary. It's been an amazing 9 years. Love her so much, and we're still having a lot of great adventures together, raising 2 awesome kids. So shout out to you, Christine, on our anniversary. All right, let's get into it right here. President Trump's Social Security changes. So far, 4 things you should know. So let's get into this. Number 1, we have a lot. Before I get into this, we have a lot of high expectations for Trump. He's made a lot of big promises, especially for Social Security. Still no date yet for the no tax on Social Security. Supposedly, maybe around March 14th. That's the date that's been floating around. So let's get into it here. Number 1, an experienced acting commissioner is now in charge. So one of Trump's actions on first day of his return to the White House office was he named multiple cabinet members, including selecting Michelle King as the acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration. So King has an extensive background at the SSA. She joined the agency in 1994 as a bilingual claims representative. Through the years, she moved into higher positions. Before being named acting commissioner, she was the deputy commissioner for operations. So she's in charge. Number 2, DOGE is targeting Social Security. So President Trump put Tesla CEO Elon Musk in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency to help out with different government organizations, and now they want to target Social Security to get rid of the waste. So Musk recently posted this. At this point, I am 100% certain that the magnitude of fraud in federal entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, welfare, disability, etc., exceeds the combined sum of every private scam you've ever heard by far. It's not even close. So DOGE's goal is to slash $2 trillion. Supposedly, there's been a lot of corruption already that he found in Social Security, like 150-year-olds that are obviously dead collecting Social Security, people without Social Security numbers collecting Social Security. What are your thoughts? It seems like Elon Musk is a little polarizing. If you're for him or against him, it seems like it's a yes, a definite yes, or a definite no. What are your thoughts on Elon Musk so far with Social Security? Number 3, inflation declarations could affect COLAs. So Social Security cost of living adjustments are based on inflation. Therefore, anything President Trump does that causes inflation to increase or decrease could ultimately affect future COLAs. So soon after his inauguration on January 20th, 2025, Trump ordered the heads of all federal departments and agencies to deliver emergency price relief consistent with applicable law to the American people and increase the prosperity of American worker. But bringing down inflation is easier said than done. It remains to be seen which steps the federal officials will move the needle with inflation, which ultimately affects the COLAs, right? So the COLAs, if inflation goes down, the COLAs are going to go down. If inflation is 0, we're going to see 0% COLA increases. So there definitely needs to be some legislation passed there to increase the COLAs regardless of inflation for urban wage workers. We need to change it from the CPIW to the CPIE. All right, number 4, immigration crackdown might accelerate Social Security trust fund trust funds drawdowns. So the president issued several executive orders related to immigration enforcement. Could these actions affect Social Security? Perhaps, saying a significant immigration crackdown would potentially reduce labor supply in some industries. This could lead to higher prices for some products and services, with the resulting inflation affecting Social Security COLAs. Trump's immigration policies might also accelerate the timeline for when the program's trust funds are depleted, which is currently projected in 2035. So, the financial news website Business Insider reported that the SSA estimates the president's plans for mass deportations could reduce Social Security funding by $20 billion per year. So, should President Trump get his way on ending federal taxes on Social Security retirement benefits, overtime, and tips, the program could run out of money even sooner. When it comes to President Trump's Social Security no tax plan, yes, no taxes are great. It's more people for the money, but what's going to happen to the Social Security Trust Fund? That question has not been answered yet. So let me know your thoughts. Are you happy with Trump so far? Not happy? Should he continue on his path? Should he change his path? Let me know your thoughts on that. Next, let's get into this. This is a really good article. Presidents and Social Security, how presidents have impacted America's first social insurance policy. So when it comes to Social Security, we're going all the way back. Let me get rid of this ad right here. We're going all the way back, starting with President Roosevelt signed the historic legislation that created Social Security program in 1935. It's wild how it's so old, 90 years old. So let's start off with number one, Franklin D. Roosevelt. On August 9th, 1935, Social Security bill was sent to the President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and for his signature, an important part of the New Deal, it was the first national social insurance policy. It would help ensure that older Americans would have a stable source of income after retiring. This is a world before pensions, IRAs, and 401ks. If only he knew how much people are getting screwed on Social Security, which is a shame. So I'm going to try to keep this brief. I'll just give like little pointers because it's a lot of presidents to go through. So Roosevelt started it. Then we got Harry Truman. So basically, he would become the first Medicare recipient under President Lyndon B. Johnson. For more about that later, expanded the Social Security program with the Social Security Act Amendment of 1950. The amendment became law 15 years after FDR signed the original authorizing legislation for Social Security program. Before its passage, millions of elderly, infirmed, and indigent Americans were still excluded from Social Security and dependent on public charity. So this amendment expanded it to include an additional 10 million people on Social Security, including non-farm employed. Life was different back then. And it also expanded the program to cover the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico back then. So yeah, so it made it more inclusive back then. So yeah, what are we, still in the 50s? Yeah, times were different back then. Dwight D. Eisenhower. So what did he do? On September 1st, 1954, similar to Truman, he expanded Social Security to include 10 million more Americans, more than 10 million more than Truman, when he signed the Social Security Act amendments of 1954. This legislation brought self-employed farmers and domestic employees, as well as other specific occupations, into the Social Security program. It also included a disability freeze provision that protected benefits of disabled. So if you're on SSDI, yeah, it looks like Eisenhower probably helped you out there as well. So number 4, John F. Kennedy. So in June 30th, 1961, JFK signed Social Security Amendments of 1961. The program to allow workers to opt for early retirement at age 62, but only men. The amendments also increased the minimum monthly benefit from $33 to $40 and the minimum disability benefit. Wow, from $33 to $40 per month. That's wild. Benefit increases were extended to dependents and survivors as well, increasing the minimum benefit from 75% to 82% of the worker's retirement benefit. All right, let's get to number 5, Lyndon B. Johnson. So, President Lyndon B. Johnson expanded Social Security with the Social Security Act of 1965, known better as the Medicare and Medicaid Act. President Johnson signed Medicare into law at the Truman Library in Independence, Missouri, to recognize Truman's early effort to establish a national health insurance program. President Truman and his wife Bess received Medicare registration cards numbers 1 and 2. Johnson also signed Truman's application for optional Part B medical care coverage. The law created two new health insurance programs. The first was a federalized health insurance program for 65 and older. Only about half of the country's seniors were covered by health insurance before Medicare became law. And then the second program, Medicaid, was created for people of any age with limited income. Medicaid was to be funded by state and federal sources and administered by states. That's from Lyndon B. Johnson. Then we got Nixon here. Early 1970s was a period of stagflation, marked by high inflation. Which is curious, if you lived through the 70s, let me know down in the comments below, do you remember the inflation back then? So high unemployment, energy price shocks caused by an oil embargo, and deficit spending to pay for the increasingly unpopular Vietnam War. And prior to 1975, Social Security benefit increases were set by legislation. So Nixon is the COLA president. Major provisions of the 1972 Social Security amendments included a 20% increase in benefits in 1972. Now, I know inflation was high back then, but can you imagine if you were getting 20% increases instead of a measly 2.5% increase, right? So cost of living adjustments to increase amounts as the cost of living rises, and the creation of Supplemental Security Income, SSI, which federalized state welfare programs for the blind, disabled, and needy elderly. Then we got Gerald Ford. All right, so what did he do? His impact on Social Security was focused on well-being of children and not retired workers. So in 1975, he signed into law Social Service Amendments of 1974, which created Part D of Title IV of the Social Security Act. He enacted Child Support Enforcement Program, a federal state initiative that made it harder for non-custodial parents to evade their financial responsibilities to children. Excuse me. We got Jimmy Carter. So, like Nixon, he presided during rough economic times and faced Social Security Trust Fund that was faltering. By 1977, the long-range actuarial situation of the Social Security system was vastly out of balance, and trust fund reserves were facing exhaustion within very few years. Sound familiar? In the 1970s, a recessionary period, and the idea of raising Social Security tax was a non-starter. The president and Congress took root of reducing future benefits to bring the system back into balance. So he signed the 1977 Social Security amendments into law to shore up the program's long-term financial solvency. This was done by creating a new benefit formula for retirees born after 1922 that generally lowered the amount that beneficiaries received. This is also referred to as the notch provision. All right, and also the GPO. So legislation also included introduction of the GPO, Government Pension Offset, which was just repealed in the Social Security Fairness Act. We got Ronald Reagan. Interesting picture here, huh? With Donald Trump. Who'd have known that he would have been president years later, beating a future president right there. So Ronald Reagan probably changed Social Security program more than any other president that followed FDR. When Reagan took office, the program's insolvency issue was critical. As a result, in 1981, the National Commission on Social Security Reform was appointed by the Congress and President to study and make recommendations regarding the crisis that Social Security funding faced. The Commission's report was the basis of a number of changes and one that won't be fully phased in until 2027. These sweeping changes included increasing the payroll taxes, gradually raising the full retirement age from 65 to 67, and making 50% of Social Security benefit income taxable for recipients with overall income above $25,000 and $32,000 for a married couple. There's still more changes, though. The self-employment tax was introduced, requiring people with self-employment income to pay both employer and employee portions of the FICA for a total of 12.4%. So that's pretty much what funded the Social Security program. And we're at that point again where we just have a few years left before Social Security Trust Fund runs dry. And it's up to Trump to make a big change. So we'll see what happens. And we got George H.W. Bush was the only president who didn't significantly change the program. However, on November 5th, 1990, he signed into law the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1990. This bill contained a policy change that mandatorily extended Social Security coverage to state and local government employees not covered by a retirement plan. Then we got Bill Clinton, built on Reagan's legacy, and increased the percentage of Social Security benefits that can be subject to income taxes to 85% from 50% for taxpayers who earn higher incomes. The new income thresholds were $34,000 for single people and $44,000 for married couples. These thresholds are still in effect today and have not been indexed for inflation. He also signed the Contract with America Advancement Act. The legislation denied Social Security disability benefits to people whose disabilities were related to alcoholism and or drug addiction. Then we got George W. Bush here, the son of the other George Bush, and he signed into law Medicare Prescription Drug Improvement and Modernization Act of 2003. The new law amended Title 18, the Medicare provision of the Social Security Act, to create Medicare Part D, as in David, the first prescription drug benefit in program's history. This was the largest overhaul of Medicare in the program's nearly 40-year history. Then we got Barack Obama. So in 2009, he signed into law the No Social Security Benefits for Prisoners Act. This law prohibited prisoners, parole violators, and those fleeing from prosecution where the punishable sentence is more than 1 year from receiving Social Security benefits. He also signed the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. So yeah, he didn't really do much for Social Security either. Let's see. Then we got Donald Trump. First time in office. Trump didn't introduce or sign any legislation to alter or expand the Social Security program. During his first term in office, the only legislation touched on Social Security was the CARES Act. This legislation was part of a coronavirus relief package and sought to shore up the finances of Social Security trust funds while the economy struggled through shutdown. So I'm really curious, like Social Security wasn't so much on my radar until Biden was in office. The first term of Trump, was Social Security an issue for you? Were you concerned about it? Did you want more done? It wasn't until Biden got into office that he introduced his 4-point plan and didn't do anything about it. So then we got Joe Biden. On January 5th, he signed the Social Security Fairness Act. That's literally like a month ago. After Trump was elected. So I guess you could argue that he didn't really do much for Social Security. So Trump didn't do anything for Social Security the first term. Biden didn't do anything for Social Security besides sign the Social Security Fairness Act. Although Biden, to be fair, Trump didn't make any big promises his first term in office for Social Security. Biden made huge promises for Social Security, didn't act on it. So, if someone doesn't so now it brings us to this. I just went over the changes so far with Trump. Current term, second term for Social Security. So he's signed 64 executive orders so far as of February 14th, and he has big plans for Social Security. So Trump didn't have any big promises for Social Security in his first term. Big promises now this time. So there's a lot of pressure on Trump right now. So let me know your thoughts. Are you happy with Trump so far? Should he do more with Social Security? Let me know down in the comments below. If you appreciate how I went through all those presidents, I know it was a lot. If you're sticking with me, I really appreciate it. Hit the like button. Really helps me out. Subscribe to the channel if you want more Social Security updates like this. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Belle's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Belle. This is the tip of the day. I just want to tell you that you should always be grateful what you have. Karma is the one that, karma, if you give things out to the world, it comes back to you. If you have a friend that is really special to you and you give them a gift and they give you back a gift. That's what karma is all about. Giving gifts. Like if you put silliness out in the world, you'll get silliness back. And it's like you should always be grateful for the holidays that have came. And also, if you have friends that you care about, you should always give gifts to them and they'll give gifts to you. Because that always happened to me and I just love it. Bye!
If you haven't seen the latest speech from Representative Larson on the Congress floor, you're going to want to click this video over here. He's got another fiery, passionate speech, so click that video now and I'll see you in that video. Take care, be safe, thank you for watching.